Hello and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am LaWanna Bradford and I'm excited to be here with you again on E360 TV to talk about a special book entitled Think and Grow Rich in a Minute. Think and Grow Rich in a Minute. And you all have heard about Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And this is a condensed version of that book of all the salient points, highlights, tips, stories that he wrote about in 1937. And Think and Grow Rich is still the best-selling business book of all time. And the great thing about it is Napoleon Hill sat with Andrew Carnegie at that time, and he wanted to compile all the success stories. I mean, he was curious about what makes success, right? And many of you have often heard me say success leaves clues. Well, Andrew Carnegie said, I'll introduce you to a wealth of individuals, entrepreneurs, inventors, politicians, business owners, major influencers of the day, so that you can interview them and understand a bit of their story. And what Andrew Carnegie found was not only were they telling him about what enabled them to be successful, but he saw that there were some synergies in these stories, which you all know about. But the reason why I thought it was so important today, even though many of us have read this book over and over again, is where we stand right now. There are so many changes that are happening around the world, happening here within the United States. Individuals who had their game plans set, their strategies outlined, they were crossing all the I's. I'm crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's, and things just seemed to be going just right. And then suddenly the apple cart was upset. And they found themselves in a place of uncertainty, fear, confusion, worry, stress, anxiety, wondering, what am I going to do? I had a job one day and today I don't. My industry is greatly impacted and I don't even know how I'm going to show up in this new place of being when this is all I've ever done. I'm feeling devalued because perhaps the word on the street is I'm part of waste, fraud, and abuse, when I know that I was placed in my position because it's the desire of my heart. It's my passion. It's what I want to do. I want to serve. I want to be of impact to the world. Or maybe you're just in a situation where a corporation has just had to do what it had to do and it's downsizing and you're caught up in that. Or maybe your business, if you're an entrepreneur, is just not doing as well as it could be during these times. Things are shifting so much in the marketplace that it's causing a little uncertainty. You're questioning if the price point that you set at the beginning of the year is still going to be able to sustain you, or are you going to have to raise those prices in order to meet the demand of your business, in order to sustain your business. Well, I believe, as I said, success leaves clues, and there's nothing new under the sun. There have been waves of change, generation after generation, and somehow individuals, even in the most dire states, were able to rise up in the face of change, in spite of the change. They were able to shift and do something different. They were able to tap into their divine genius and find a new pathway. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is what Napoleon Hill has to say about visualization, belief, and what it means in attaining your goals. We like to call it faith, and we're going to dig into it in just a moment. Well, we are back for a quick dive into Think and Grow Rich in a Minute, Think and Grow Rich in a Minute by Napoleon Hill. Again, these are excerpts of some of the greatest teachable moments out of his renowned book, Think and Grow Rich. And we are going to focus on chapter 5 in this book entitled Faith, Visualization of and Belief in Attainment of Desire. Now, many of us are very familiar with mindset and the law of attraction and vision boards, all of these wonderful tools that we have, neuroplasticity, identifying the limiting beliefs and reprogramming our mindset. But the question I have for you is why, even though we may know all of this and we have all of these great tools and resources in our tool chest, that when we are faced with impactful change, radical change, sometimes we may find ourselves frozen, petrified, not knowing what to do, how to do it, where to move, when to move. We may find ourselves running around, like I say, the CLS syndrome, the Chicken Little syndrome, the sky is falling because it is falling, and we are petrified with what to do next. And so we start spinning frenetically. Or maybe it's so overwhelming that we've become overwhelmed that we bury our heads in the sand. And we just don't want to see it. We don't want to hear it. We just don't want to deal. Well, all three of those are rooted in fear. And so let's go back to what faith is. And I'm going to bring in some biblical references. And for those of you who are people of faith or just spiritual in nature, you may have heard that fear is the opposite of faith, right? Faith is for all I trust him. Many like to use that acronym in defining what faith is. And fear, we've often heard, is false evidence appearing real. And you may be saying, well, LaWanna, there is nothing false about what I'm experiencing right now. I'm not certain how I'm going to attain clients or retain my clients. My business just is not meeting the performance forecast that I was expecting. I'm hearing that there's going to be layoffs in my job, and I don't know what else to do, or I may be caught up in this whole federal wave of waste, fraud, and abuse. And now what? And you're saying false evidence appearing real. Hello, I'm living it. It's not false. It's very real. Well, when we say false evidence appearing real, the fear is the fear of what may happen, right? So there's a known, and the known is just that. So there's things you may be able to influence and things you may not be able to influence. But the one point of influence that you have that cannot be taken away from you unless you give it up is your mindset and what you think, feel, and believe about a situation. And that is what this component of faith is that Napoleon Hill is talking about. And he says here, faith is not necessarily the interchanging of the religious belief of faith. He's not discounting that. But very specifically, he said that faith is having the confidence, trust, and absolute unwavering belief that you can accomplish your desired goal. I'm going to say that again. Having the confidence, trust, and absolute unwavering faith that you can accomplish your desired goal. And sometimes we have to unpackage, what is that desired goal? Is your desired goal to have and I'm simplifying this, to have a job? Is that the goal? I need to have a job. Or is your goal, I want to make sure that there is a revenue stream that I can provide for my family? What is the bigger goal? And when you focus on that, the desire shifts in a slightly different way, right? Because there's different means to the end. I may have enjoyed the position that I was in before, but this door that closed, and I'm not happy that it closed, may also allow me to shift my focus and see another window or door of opportunity. In my professional career, I've gone through a total of 13 reduction in forces, right sizing, downsizing, mergers, you name it. That's just the wave that was going on when I came into the workplace, whether I was in corporate, whether I was in a quasi-government role or a full-out federal role. I found myself just in the mix. And sometimes I ended up on top, and sometimes my position was impacted. But I had to realize that I have a lot of gifts and talents, and I need to be willing to tap into it. And I can't allow the fear or the uncertainty of the moment cloud what I have within me or diminish the value that I have. Because sometimes when things happen to us, we begin to feel unworthy and undeserving. We start to question ourselves, what did I do wrong? Or we may be looking to the right or left at other people and saying, well, why me and not them? Right? But this is an opportunity for us to tap into our divine genius, giftings, and talents. And this is what he's talking about. So again, having faith is having the confidence, trust, and absolute unwavering belief that you can accomplish your desired goal. Again, there's many ways to get there. It may not be that job. It may not be that particular business strategy. It may not be with that particular business partner. But there are other pathways if we open ourselves to it. And he says the first thing you have to do is intentionally plant the belief and self-confidence in your subconscious mind. So we can say what we want. I want this. I really do. I desire it. But we can intend all day long, right? I have this intention. I've painted this picture. I can see it. But how committed are we to getting there? And the struggle can be real. That struggle bus journey can be real. It can be bumpy and very uncomfortable. But when you're committed, the end is clear, right? The end is clear, and you know where you're going. And you're going to get there by any means necessary. You're not going to allow the fear to cripple you, the fear to allow you to operate with a limited mindset, with a restrictive mindset. You're going to open up yourself. You're going to be expansive. You're going to realize that you're this creative, innovative, brilliant being. And you're going to find a way. And that's what he's talking about, is planting these seeds of belief and self-confidence in your mind. And when you plant those seeds, you want to make sure that the seeds are being watered and nurtured. You want to be in the proper environments. If I'm facing times of trouble and I'm concerned about my financial well-being, I don't want to be in a group of people that all they're speaking about is negativity and what's not going to happen and what was me. I need to be around that positive energy where people are speaking life and possibility, where we're sharing resources and ideas and looking at how we can lift one another up. He says, secondly, you have to realize that just having the faith in your ability will cause more creativity and ideas and solutions to come to your mind. So when you have that confidence, right? When you have that faith in your ability and your skills and your talents, and know that it is possible, that what you're visioning for yourself is possible, then the ideas and solutions are going to start percolating. They're just going to start coming out of nowhere. But again, one of the things that fear does for us, it does cripple us. It causes our mind to be very clouded. And we start focusing more on the problem than on the opportunity. And again, it's not dismissing the problem. It's not saying, no, we want to pretend like it doesn't exist. No, it does exist, right? And we have to have plans and strategies in place to navigate this minefield that we find ourselves in. But we have to be wedded to the goal, to the vision. We have to be committed. We have to be, as Abraham Hicks says, tapped in, tuned in, sold out for our goal and vision. and knowing that this was just an interruption. It was a hiccup. It was a bump in the road, or maybe it's a mountain, okay, that we have to climb. But believing that you can climb it. The one thing that he says is, it's like, well, okay, so how do I do this, right? And I said earlier, success leaves clues. Well, he talks about repetition. Napoleon Hill said, repetition of affirmations is the only known method of voluntary development of your emotion of faith. So when you have faith, when you're walking in faith, your emotions align with it. It's a feeling experience. When you're walking in faith, it's a feeling experience. So you can have the feeling of negativity, and you're going to get more of the same. That energy around you is going to attract more of the same. Or you can have positive, creative energy around you, and you're going to attract more of that. And he says that it is so important that you give yourself those affirmations. Sometimes when we've been broken, right, we feel rejected, we have to retrain our self-talk. We have to start speaking life and light into ourselves. And that's what he's saying. It's that constant repetition of affirming of who we are and what it is that we're going to do and how we're going to do it. One of the things that the Bible tells us is faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God. And so he's taking that same principle. Napoleon Hill is taking that same principle and saying, you've got to hear yourself saying these things. You're thinking it, but then let's start speaking it. One of the things that I do is when I'm going through my points of challenge is I will record myself speaking in a positive, knowing, affirming tone. And when I get down in those little dark places, I'll play that, and I'll find myself standing a little taller, feeling more empowered. So you want to place yourself in a seat of empowerment where you can open yourself up to those opportunities, to those ideas, to those solutions. The brain, or the subconscious mind, does not know the difference between live, or I'm dating myself, Memorex, right? What's fact from fiction. It only knows what's being impressed upon it. It only knows what you're telling it. And the more you tell it, the more it produces whatever that thing is. There's a book, As a Man Thinketh, right? Even the Bible talks about as a man thinketh, as a woman thinketh, so they are. So we have to become very mindful and conscious of our thoughts. Take ownership of our thoughts. So he talks about, well, how do I do this? And how often do I do it? Well, it can be through daily affirmations, right? Positive affirmations. You want to emotionalize it. You want to feel it. You want to see it as though it's already there and feel what it feels like to be doing what it is that you want to do. To again be providing that consistent revenue stream for your family, where you're able to serve your clients in a way where you're able to show up in your gifts and talents. You want to feel that as though it already is. And you want to keep repeating it till it helps you to reprogram and get rid of the stinking negative thinking, that becomes just your place of being. I have people ask me often, well, LaWanna, with everything that's going on, why are you so calm? Why are you almost seem indifferent? I'm like, oh no, I am far from indifferent. But I have such a sense of peace and knowing and confidence and assurance that this too shall pass, because I've been through some hard times, right? I've overcome. And the amazing thing is where I am today is proof that I've overcome many, many, many challenges in my life. And I survived. I'm not going to let this defeat me, but I'm going to find a way to become even stronger through the experience. I want my walk and my journey and my strength and my confidence to be a testimony for others, just so that they can see that, hey, I can do that too. And that's what this book, Think and Grow Rich, and again, in a minute, it's a condensed version, is giving people elements of hope, showing that there have been success story after success story after success story with proven principles that have been applied for over 100 years. And you can apply them too. But you have to be committed, and you have to be consistent, and you have to continue to repeat again and again and again to reprogram that subconscious mind so that there's a new way of thinking, moving, doing, and being. And when he talks about visualization, okay, I hear so many people. I remember doing a training a few months ago, and I was asking my students, how many of you have done vision boards? And they are all like, yes, yes. And I said, well, how many of you have looked on your vision board just in the last 6 weeks? And one person was like, I don't even know where mine is. And no one in the class had looked at it, but they had developed it. They said, yeah, I remember that experience. Well, it was an experience to design a tool to be used for a certain purpose to enable you to walk through and navigate this journey so that what you placed on this board becomes your lived experience, becomes that reality. But if you're just doing something just to check, did it, and you put it away, then are you really reprogramming your mind? I mean, how are you ensuring that your program hasn't gone offline? How are you ensuring that you are still connected, tapped and tuned and turned on to what it is that you said you want to be, you want to do, and to the impact that you want to have? See, it says when your visualizations, which are mental movies that you play over and over again in your mind, when they create such vivid mental images of the change you desire, you will experience it. So that change, it becomes like a reality. As I said, your mind doesn't know fact from fiction, but when you're playing it over and over again, it's like I'm there. I'm there, right? So when we think about the law of attraction, as I mentioned, as a man or woman thinketh, so is he. Napoleon Hill says each person is what they are or who they are because of the dominating thoughts they permit to occupy their mind. That may be a little hard for some people to swallow. I know when I first heard this, decades ago, I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean? I am what I'm experiencing, who I am is based upon the dominant thoughts of my mind. I mean, life happens, things happen, no way. And I had to realize what he's saying. It's okay, things may happen that are totally out of your control. But how you show up, how you shift, how you navigate, all plays in line with what you're thinking, consciously or subconsciously. Those limited thinking or limited thoughts or empowering thoughts. And again, that's where your circle of influence, that inner circle community you find yourself with, is so key. Because sometimes when we're going through the hardest times, we need to pull back from those who are saying, oh, you can't do this. Or let me tell you, this is what happened to me and what you're doing isn't going to work. See, I don't take someone's losses and say, well, just because you lost is going to be my loss. Neither do I take just because you succeeded is going to be my success. I have to be committed to LaWanna and to my vision and to my dreams. And with that, as I mentioned earlier, those ideas, those innovations, that creativity will come, and you will know which actions to take, because faith without works is dead. Faith is action. It's not being on the sidelines. See, when you're walking in faith, you are moving. You are moving in a direction. Napoleon Hill also mentions the ether, and that's where everything he believes is connected. And that's that energetic pull we can have. It's like you can be thinking about something, and then you get a phone call from someone who says, hey, I was just thinking about you, and oh, by the way, and they'll say something that you're like, I was just thinking about that. Or you may be thinking about something and then you're reading a book and that thought is echoed again in it. So we're always vibrating at a rate that is attracting the good or maybe the not so good in our lives. Then he talks about, so if the ether is the medium that we are connected and interconnected, he says infinite intelligence is part of our human process, right? So we are attached to the divine, right? To infinite intelligence. And it pulls together all these bits and pieces and ideas together. And then we find ourselves becoming the architect. As Martin Luther King says, you are the architect of our lives. And we start piecing these all together so that we create the new landscape, the new blueprint for our lives. And I don't know about you, but that gets me excited to know that I can create and reshape my life. We'll be right back. Hello, we are back for the final half of Power of the Pen. Today we're talking about Think and Grow Rich in a Minute by Napoleon Hill. These are highlights of his book written in 1937, Think and Grow Rich. We were talking earlier about visualization and belief. And this philosophy, his philosophy when it relates to the law of attraction or the power of positive thinking. And I know when I read this years ago, I had to just sit in this and I thought maybe that's where people get it wrong. They miss this one little piece. And sometimes we know that 1 degree can really shift where your ship goes, right? 1 degree can have you totally off course. 1 missed degree. And I don't know about you, but I was of the mindset that if I thought it and imagined it enough and just held firm to that it was just going to magically happen. Well, it's not about magic, right? It's about alignment. It's about vibration. It's about belief. This is what he says. Hill does not believe visualizing your desire will actually put dollars in your pocket. And many are taught just visualize it and it's going to happen. But he did not believe that. He says, or park a Rolls Royce in your driveway any more than it can make a cup and a saucer suddenly materialize on the desk in front of you. That's magic. He's like, that's not how it works. This is what he says. And I think this is, if you can take away this, this may allow you to allay some of your concerns and remind you of the power seat that you're really in and enable you to just begin to rise in your architectural genius and design the life that you want to have. He says, when you focus your mind on what you desire, what it attracts are the ideas and plans you can use to achieve your desire. So again, when you focus your mind on what? The thing that you want, right? What it attracts is ideas and plans on how to get that thing, right? It doesn't just say, bing, the thing is there. You get a call out of the blue, just something happens. No, he's saying there's a strategy there that when you think about what you desire, it attracts the plans, the ideas, again, the actions for you to take in order to achieve your desire. It's not the actual dollar bills, automobiles, and other things that you want that are just going to fall into your lap. And I believe that maybe that's why so many who are really chasing after this law of attraction and are doing their affirmations every day, but they're spinning their wheels, and year after year, they're still in the same place. They really haven't moved the needle very much. Maybe, just maybe, and I'm not saying this is for certain, but just maybe if you shifted by 1 degree and said, wait a minute, this is what I want. I've put it there. I put it out in the universe. It's what I want. Now I'm expecting, and I'm being grateful, and I'm being expectant of those ideas and those plans that I can take, because I know the more that I'm downloaded and the more that I commit to walking in these ideas, that ultimately I'm going to achieve that which I desire. See, he says, the more you burn that desire in your subconscious mind, your mind will automatically come up with more and more ideas on how you can earn the money to put into your bank account so that you can buy that Rolls Royce, or you can send your kids to college, whatever it is, right? We work every day. We have a business every day for a reason. There's a reason that we're doing what we're doing. And if it's to be that revenue income generating source, well, we're generating income for what end, right? For what end? And he says, thinking positively and visualizing things the way you want them to be, listen to this, doesn't create concrete objects. It creates ideas and attitudes. And when you change your ideas and your attitudes, you naturally go about thinking what you desire, to thinking about how to get what you desire, to actually having what you desire. Positive thinking turns into positive actions, which turns into positive results. And I'm going to end with this poem by Walter D. Wendell. And it's called Thinking. And it says, if you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you think you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you've lost. For out of the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in a state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. If you think you've got to think high to rise, if you've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize, life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the one who thinks he or she can. By Walter D. Wendell, and it's called Thinking. And what's this book all about? Think and Grow Rich, right? So I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this edition of Power of the Pen, where we're talking about Think and Grow Rich in a minute, how to attain your desire through visualization and belief. And I just want to encourage you, whatever that you're going through, to get out of the fear zone, get out of being petrified, running around with the Chicken Little syndrome, putting your head in the sand, tap into your faith, align it with your belief, be committed, and give yourself those affirmations to help you to reprogram, open yourself up to the seed of creativity, ideas, and genius that I know you have in you, and expect that at the right time, whatever you desire will be yours. But you have to first think before you can grow rich. Think and grow rich. Until next time, be safe, be well, and I'll see you next week for another edition of Power of the Pen. Bye for now.